Day 5 of 9 on our Mediterranean cruise on the NCL Breakaway. Today we're in the port of Naples and we're about to go on a private tour to see what this area has to offer. So the ship docks very close in the port of Naples. You can get off the ship really quickly and easily. There's lots of NCL tour options. You can also walk off the ship and get onto the hop-on, hop-off bus right here. Or you can do something like we did, and we booked our own private tour through VIATOUR. You can access VIATOUR through their website or the app. I prefer the app, it's really easy to navigate. You set up your own wish list. You can view all the different activities available on the days that you're in port. I think they've even got a cruise version now where you can put in the actual cruise that you're doing and it will tell you what excursions are available. The earlier you book, the better. You also have a cancellation up to, in most cases, 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours before. It's a really good alternative to what the ships offer in terms of cost. You do need to be careful to make sure you're back in time, but sometimes you can do more on these excursions than you could do with a bigger group. So you could have like a private tour like we did at Naples. So what we loved about this is by getting off the ship, we walked straight out, met our guy. We'd had WhatsApp communication in the weeks beforehand. It included the part tickets to Pompeii and Herculaneum and a private tour guide as well, but it didn't include the tickets to Mt Vesuvius, which we bought separately. But it was great just to be met, taken straight to here, which you can see on screen. So didn't know much about this place before we arrived. It's very similar to Pompeii, however, there's actually more ruins still in position to see, and I'm really glad we went here. We actually were one of the first people to arrive for the day, so it felt like having an absolutely private tour, and our tour guide was amazing. She really tailored it to what we wanted to know as adults, but also what the children wanted to hear and find out about.
I mean, the volcano today is a little bit covered with a cloud. Anyway, both towns, so Herculaneum here, and which is in the north of the volcano. Arianna, did you read something about, the description of the eruption? It's especially the rain of ash and pumices, and the second day is the pyroclastic flow. Probably some people survived, but maybe because they escaped before. So the excavation of Herculaneum started accidentally. Because it's a home of a wealthy family.
But this is
original.
Original.
This is the original floor. Wow. This is the original mosaic. So you see.
It was lovely to hear Arianna talk about what she'd been learning about in school this year, but also James and I had learnt so much from our wonderful tour guide Celestina's feedback and information. You just wouldn't have been able to get as much out of this site if you're just going around on your own. Maybe the audiobook would be useful too, but even knowing where to go, where to stop, where to look at, because there isn't signs up everywhere because they're trying to keep it as preserved and as it was as possible. So I felt like having a guide that could really explain what we were seeing was brilliant. We've never done that before, but I definitely would do that again at historical sites.
This room is very well preserved because the roof didn't collapse. And we can also see the window. It's a marble which is very precious still today. It comes from Africa. And imagine that the upper part was like that. Also because you have from a fountain and with a little bit of space to recline during the summer Naples entrances. We entered from the back entrance.
Okay.
Water.
So they just kept it themselves.
This is a privilege. To go up to the upper floor. It's beautifully preserved, even the fresco. Here it's beautiful. But they had a private bath inside.
Wow.
We then headed into the museum. They just opened a new part to the exhibition and we were able to walk around, look at all the displays, and our tour guide talked us through a little bit about what they all were and what they meant. We then headed out and popped to the bathroom in the museum because they were quieter than the ones outside in the main site. And then as we were leaving, you could see just how many people are arriving now, different tour buses from different coach trips and other parties. So we arrived literally as it had opened and we'd had pretty much the whole place to ourselves. We then headed back out, and these are just some of the prices in case you're thinking of booking it directly. So we headed back out to our car, and the car took us straight to Pompeii. There were massive queues, which you can see here, but with our tour guide we just walked straight up to one of the ticket booths and went straight in with the tickets that she had, and speak the local language, etc. I'm sure they must have like a quick access for these tour guides, because we had a skip the queue ticket and we went straight in. Bit random, but if you don't like lizards, Pompeii seem to be covered in them. The kids love spotting them. They're really cute if you aren't scared of them. So there's one. Yeah, so Pompeii is much, much bigger than I had ever imagined. I'd seen it on a map, but I just couldn't put it into context. I don't think you could get around the whole thing even in a full day if you're there. So if you're there for a few hours, you're going to be hard pushed to see all of it. Again, having Celestina was fantastic because she had a well-walked route. She knew the things that we'd most want to see. We had a little sit down here and a drink to talk about what they used to do in this theatre, and she showed us some of the most interesting sites. Again, you wouldn't be able to really find your way around that easily because there's no like sort of signpost or anything. It doesn't sort of say this was this type of house or this was the bakery, etc. So the audio guides or having a tour guide I think is really important, because otherwise you are looking at a lot of ruins, and some of it is not as well restored as in this part here. So yeah, I just found her insights really useful, and the kids really enjoyed Pompeii. I think it was brilliant to bring it to life for them.
Very good. Yeah, this is
Careful not to
exactly.
fall.
That's how it works. Because of the earthquakes before, like a warning anyway to the many people that didn't want to leave the city center. So the main square, the so-called forum of Pompeii, is that way. So we walk that way.
I want to have a ginger
Beautiful. Pompeii is massive. It also didn't have much shade, and it was really hot in April when we went, so lots of water was needed. You can only imagine what it's going to be like in the summer holidays. So yeah, wear appropriate shoes, take the right clothing and sun cream, definitely. The good thing about having the car was we could leave lots of that stuff in the car in between the different visits, and the floor was really rugged, so not only do you need good shoes for walking, but also you don't want to be falling over with flip-flops on, etc. It's probably not the most accessible site either, so if you're a wheelchair user, I'm not sure if they have specific routes that you can go around, because not all of them would have been possible in my opinion. Same for like pushchairs. I think if you had an all rugged terrain one like we used to have, you'd probably be all right. I saw a lot of kids that were walking or then being carried with like kids backpack carriers and stuff like that. Yeah, lots of families were there though, all ages really. So after about two and a half hours in Pompeii and a lot of walking and a lot of learning and listening, we had all built up quite an appetite. So we headed back out towards the entrance. You'll see big queues in a minute of people trying to get in. Queues definitely kept building up throughout the day. And like I said, we'd skip the queue and walk straight in, which was really lucky with our tickets and our tour guide. We said goodbye to our tour guide here, and then we jumped in the car and got taken to a local pizza restaurant. I think pizza originates from Naples, so we tried some local pizza. There was all different styles and toppings, to quite different to what you'd pick in the UK in most instances, and I had to try this pizza because my pizza had crisps on top. Next stop on our tour was to climb Mt Vesuvius. The drive there was amazing. Even with the clouds that day, we had some beautiful views. What I will add here, must do, top tip, is please go to the toilet before you get anywhere near Mt Vesuvius. There were no toilets. There was one in a shop before you go through the gates up to Mt Vesuvius, and it had a massive queue. It wasn't the greatest, and yeah, once you were climbing up Mt Vesuvius, which took us about 30-40 minutes to walk up and then 30-40 minutes back down, no toilets whatsoever. And yeah, I'll talk about that more in a second, but we did struggle with that, so definitely use the toilet before you start the climb. You must book your tickets for Mt Vesuvius well in advance. I don't think you can buy any there. I didn't see any ticket office. You're given a time slot. You can get there a certain amount of time before and after, I believe, but it's very strict as well, so you just make sure you've checked your ticket for when it is. Sadly, the weather wasn't great when we arrived, so we actually walked in a cloud. You can see Leo's hair's wet there from the mist. It was actually quite fun. Like, I've never experienced walking through a cloud before, so from that perspective we didn't mind that it wasn't the greatest views, and it started to clear up when we reached the top anyway. It was quite an intense climb. It is quite steep. The floor is very wobbly. We saw a lot of people struggling because of the steepness of it and the intensity. There were a couple of places to sit along the way, but not really that many.
See, if you look over that side.
So a number of little shops in these wooden huts on the way up and down where you could buy some souvenirs, and I think they did drinks and ice creams as well. But as mentioned, there were no toilets. So there were some side paths you could go down, you know, if you had some tissue paper with you. Some people were doing that. My little girl doesn't like doing that, so once we got to the top and about to start taking some pictures, she suddenly needed the bathroom, even though we'd been at the restaurant before. And so we started the route march back down quite quickly after reaching the top, as is travelling with kids. So yeah, we kept going down. We kept hoping that the shops would have a toilet on them, but they sadly didn't. So yeah, it was that one sort of portaloo at the bottom with one of the main shops. I think you can see James going for the main gates there. If you keep going down a bit further, there's a little shop. Here we go, this is the queue. You had to spend about €1 or €2 in the shop before you could queue up. And that was it, the only one that was available. Where you're picked up and collected from near Mt Vesuvius entrance is a very small car park with lots of coaches turning around. So we had a set time to meet our tour guide because WhatsApp just doesn't work up there, you've got no signal. And he collected us, he was very prompt. We jumped back in the taxi, he took us straight back to the port and we said goodbye to him. And we started our boarding process to get back on the ship. Well ahead of time. Who doesn't get happy just hearing that music and that welcome back to the ship? I love that. And of course, we're all hungry. So we headed straight to Manhattan, our favourite, where you get to eat, listen to a bit of music. The kids ordered off the kids' menu, but they can order off the adults' menu if they want to. We quite often will order a couple of starters or a couple of puddings if we're not sure which one we want to try. And we had definitely built up an appetite from all that walking today. We love all shows on all cruise ships. There are some that are definitely better than others, but generally we love a show. So the Red, White and British is a brand new offering that NCL put on this year, and we really enjoyed watching it. I took Ariana with me and left Leo in Kids Club because it wasn't really his thing, but Ari absolutely loved the singing and the dancing. It was a fantastic show and not to be missed. Thanks for watching this vlog on the Port of Naples, and don't forget to subscribe to see our future adventures.